way of the car that careened close to the curb she had been about to step off of. It was a miracle she didn't get killed, kept most of her coffee in her cup, and managed to keep her cell phone from hitting the pavement. "Hello, Jackson?" she said quickly. "I didn't hear that last part."
"Nothing important, sissy. Just bitching about Landon. I think I'm going to jail for murder soon."
"Nah, you can't do that," she countered. "You know what they do to cops in prison?"
Ah, crap, you're right. I'm totally fucked."
Dosha bit her lips, trying not to laugh. Despite his play at humor, she could tell her brother was seriously put out. Seriously off his game, too. He had been ever since his partner, Chico, had taken a bullet to the brain 6 months ago. Jackson was grieving in his own way, and that way seemed to be one of a lot less patience for a micromanaging boss than he would usually have. Unfortunately, Landon wasn't a touchy-feely type who would understand Jackson popping off and punching him in the head. It was crucial she help her brother refocus a little. "So how's Sergeant doing?" Jackson paused.
"He's undisciplined and a pain in my ass. He keeps running away."
Yikes. That wasn't good. If Jackson couldn't control Sergeant, that could mean a lot more trouble down the line. But her brother had a special touch with these canine pups. No dog would ever be able to replace Chico in Jackson's heart, but Dosha believed there was room for him to move over and share. The trouble was, Jackson might not be ready to think the same way. It was probably too soon for him to have the new dog. He should have waited, given it more time. But as one of only 2 canine officers in the Saugerties Police Department, he didn't have the luxury of waiting too long to replace a downed officer, especially considering how much time, money, and effort went into training a dog. The department needed the dog badly, and they needed him to be well-trained. They also knew that Jackson was the best man to do it. "Well, you'll get him under control," she said, not a hint of doubt in her mind. "He's only a year old."
"Yeah, well, at a year, I had Chico healing with a snap."
"Yes," she said, stepping off the curb once more. "But he's not Chico, honey. It's not fair to him to expect him to be. You've only had him for a short time." Again, there were those beats of silence. Dosha could almost see him nodding firmly to himself in agreement. Jackson was logical, dedicated, and very ambitious. It wasn't in him to accept defeat. He just had to get his heart in the game.
"I know,"
Jackson said simply, but making it clear by his tone that he had heard his sister's wisdom.
"So, where are you?"
Dosha smiled at the turn of topic. He needed a little space now, and she would give it to him. She was just happy that he was talking it out with her. He'd been in a very dark place when Chico died. Some people huffed and called him just a dog, but Chico was every inch the partner a human might have been for Jackson. Almost none of those scoffers were his fellow cops. They all respected Chico for the officer he had been, even the irritating Chief Avery Landon. "Well, I just passed Kiss My Feet not too long ago, which reminds me that it's been far too long since I had a pedicure, or a waxing."
"Okay, that's a need to know, sissy, and I didn't need to know."
She huffed. "Like you don't like a girl with all her—" She used her coffee-filled hand to gesture in a circle over the front of her body, as if he could see her. "Landscaping trimmed."
"I'm not talking about my sister's landscaping," he choked out.
"Was?"
"Brad."
She punched a button, chuckling as she hung up on him. She loved leaving him flustered like that. It amused the bejesus out of her. Well, he'd wanted the change of topic, so he had gotten exactly that. She stuffed her phone in her bag, a cute little pink and gray pouch she'd seen at a local resurrection boutique. That was what she liked to call thrift and secondhand stores. Only in her dreams could she own a brand new designer bag. No one noticed the slightly worn edge on the bottom, and it looked darling with her winter jacket and its faux fur-lined hood. She would wear the set the entire winter because she couldn't afford to change it up, but she was perfectly content with what she had and didn't waste time and worries on what she didn't have. Although she didn't have much time to worry about anything at all lately. She studiously kept her eyes forward as she walked past Krause's Candy. The red and white striped decorations on the columns were just screaming at her, begging her to press her nose against the glass and pretend she could smell all those pounds of delicious chocolate. But she persevered. She was late enough as it was. She had a tiny little office to get to and a grouchy boss of her own to deal with if she showed up late. After a few minutes, she was stepping onto the green steel bridge, its concrete retaining wall.